With that, we'll call the meeting to order at 7:03. I'll be taking notes tonight, given Brad's hands being occupied. For our new member of the public who's joining us, Allison, I'll run through how these meetings typically roll, then we'll get into the actual agenda. Um, these meetings typically start out with a call to order. Um, Depending on what's on the agenda, the agenda is typically dictated by a stock list of things that we do, and we've just learned that we carry over that agenda from month to month instead of doing bespoke agendas for each meeting. We've found that no matter what we're talking about, typically it's going to slot into one of the three main categories that we've got. And those categories are public forum, which we always start out with. The reason why we put public forum first is so any members of the public who have something they want to bring in front of the board can do it without having to sit for the entirety of the meeting, just in case we're dealing with longer business, things they don't want to get into. They just want to say their piece about something, bring something to the advisory board's attention. Public forum allows them to do that quickly and then move if they see so fit. The next agenda item is called grants and initiatives. This is effectively a catch-all for anything that we want to do. The initiative part of that is anything that we want to do or feel like needs to be done from a pedestrian or bicycle or otherwise non-motorized vehicle perspective in the town. And the reason why we attach it to grants is because if we want to get something done, we've found and been advised over the years that it's best to attach it to a grant. So say you want to put a sidewalk in somewhere, the best way to do that is to attach it to a grant that's offered by the state, by the federal government, by someone like an organization like AARP. They offer grants for that type of thing. That's why
Or
we
local
tie
motion.
locomotion, perfect example.
Yeah.
Locomotion acts as a, thank you for noting that, Sally. Locomotion is interesting because they act both as a organization that gives grants and as a kind of central point for understanding what other grants are available for initiatives that our organization is typically interested in. The next agenda item is other business, which is, again, it's a catch-all for everything from things that maybe on the off chance didn't fall into that, things that somebody might have come into the meeting late to and they want to throw something out, and then otherwise business that is specific to the board, like say open board seats, requests from the select board of things that they want us to check out. Anything like that typically goes into other business. We will make an exception for agenda items, adding agenda items. If anyone, including board members, but not exclusive of board members, comes to us in advance of posting the agenda publicly and says, hey, I'd love to talk about X. If X is something specific, big, doesn't fit nicely within any of the set agenda items, we will by all means carve out formal space for it on the agenda, which will get posted to the town and to the public at large. So, and then we ask if there's anything else going on, call for adjourn and adjourn. So that's typically how these meetings run. Is there anything else that anybody wants to add, noting that we've got a new member of the public here for the first time before we jump into things? All right, cool. With that, we will start off with public forum then. And we've got one member of the public. Um, Allison, if you want to introduce yourself and leave it at that, or if there's anything you want to note to us, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. So as Brad just mentioned, I recently moved to Bristol just a little over a month ago.
Oh
Oh,
my
go ahead.
gosh, can
Yeah,
I interrupt you for a second?
of course.
I jumped the gun.
Oh,
I jumped the gun.
okay.
I have to call for a review and approval of the October 23rd, 2025 meeting minutes. That is the last October is the last official meeting that we had. Sorry, I jumped the gun on that. Um, And then the last two were we had to reschedule those meetings or cancel those meetings because they both fell on either squarely on or within holidays. So, board members, I'd like to call for a review and approval of the or comments on the October 23rd meeting minutes. Does anybody have any comments on them or amendments before we ask for approval? Okay, then can I get a motion to approve those meeting minutes?
I move to approve.
Sally first. Can I get a second, please?
I second.
Thank you, Brad. Uh, Meeting minutes are approved. Allison, now apologies again. The floor is yours.
No worries at all. I approve too, by the way.
Terrific.
Um, well, again, thank you for having an open forum like this for people to come join in, as Chris and Brad mentioned. Um, so Sally and Dustin, it's really nice to meet you. I moved to Bristol about a month and a half ago on, I don't know if we're allowed to give away our address, but on 73rd West. So I'm right on the main drag here in Bristol. So really excited to be here. And I a little background about myself. I am a total city girl. I grew up in Montreal, lived in Burlington for several years, lived in Portland, Oregon, New York City, Austin, Texas, and Texas broke me. And I said, I need to come back to Vermont. So Chris and Brad are two very good friends that I've known for close to 20 years. So being in a place where it seems like people with ambition can make big impact happen just seemed like the right fit. So I'm really, really happy to be here in Bristol. And as a person who prefers walking and cycling over driving, when Chris told me he was on this board, I thought this would be a great way to start integrating myself into the community. And that's it.
Terrific. Welcome. Does anybody have any questions for Allison or any other public comment? Okay, great. Oh, sorry.
It seems like it'd be fun to ask questions, but it seems like, uh, I mean, fun, just like, I don't even know what. That's more like not really board oriented or anything. It's just like, oh, cool. What kind of things do you like to do? You like to bike? What do you do? And all that kind of stuff.
I'll give you a short rundown if that's cool.
Great.
This
Yeah,
is
yeah.
this is the public forum, right?
Yeah, yeah, great.
So I'm a creative director. I'm also a screen printer and artist. So I do all kinds of things, branding and design. And I've been doing that for a very long time and love cycling, love snowboarding. This is the first time that I've lived where I look out my backyard and I see mountains and at night I see stars. It's absolutely amazing. And yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to the spring and to the summer and just being a bigger part of the community. I can also play guitar. So if you want to start a band, everybody here, let's do it. But yeah, just a big art nerd and um, also in full transparency with the house that I've purchased here, I do have ambitions, um, while not applicable to this group necessarily. Um, but I do have hopes of creating a community gallery space within it. I'm here on my own as well. I don't have children or a long-term partner. So yeah, I'm just new in town and excited to meet people and help make Bristol freaking amazing.
Great. That's
And
great.
Sally, you brought up
Yeah.
locomotion. Am I jumping to the gun? Are you part of locomotion?
I'm not a part of local motion. I am part of the uh, Addison County Walk Bike Council,
Awesome.
and I've done stuff with local motion a fair bit. The little signs that were around the town this past year, I got from local motion and put in strategic places to, let people know, keep, watch out for us bicyclists, give us 4 feet, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Watch for kids. So just little things like that, you know. And and I've been here for like 45 years.
Wow.
I lived in
Must be,
Lincoln a lot of that, but
yeah.
I love Bristol and I got rid of my car, so I don't have a car now. And I bike and bus and work in town, so I don't have to really have a car.
Oh,
So
wow, Sally, we are so similar in that
yeah,
way. I haven't had a car for 15 years, and people keep telling
great.
me, you're gonna have to get one. I'm like, I don't want to.
No,
How
yeah,
about let's make the bike routes and bus routes better?
yeah, perfect. Well, it seems like we have a lot of talking to do off of this meeting sometime. So we
Absolutely.
should get in touch somehow. I'm not sure how we would do that, but
I will connect you,
okay,
Sally.
that's great.
I'll get your
Excellent.
contact information
Great.
I
together
love
too.
it.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for
Cool.
the space, everyone, for that.
Of
That
course.
makes me so excited.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a new member of the public to start the year off. So,
Yeah.
if that's all we have for public comment, we'll move on to grants and initiatives. I'll remind the board, even though it was months ago, one of the things that we discussed back in October was what I termed at the time a reset of the organization of the advisory committee's efforts, kind of just how do we renew our efforts? How do we look at this with a fresh set of eyes insofar as the process of creating initiatives or bringing initiatives in front of the town? I reached out to the town grant writer. She's again willing to come and sit in on one of our meetings and just refresh our memories on how that whole process works. Start of the new year, obviously, that's going to represent a new set of potential grants that we can go after. Allison, just as informationally, there is this is a two-way street. It's one of these things where you can look at a grant and come up with an idea for an initiative, or you can come up with an initiative, and then there are ways that with which we can go out and search for grants to potentially pay for them. So it's not one of these things where either one, both of them can be carts, both of them can be horses when it comes to coming up with things like that. So noting that it was way back in October, prior to Halloween and all the other holidays, um, I think the way we had left it back then was just for everybody to think about ways in which not just new initiatives and things like that, but ways in which are there new methods and new ways in which we want to broach the subject of initiatives. Just so that we've got a moment here, given that it's January, where we can refresh the way we approach this stuff. So has anybody given any thoughts to this subject in the last couple of months? Sally, I know that Local Motion, I've watched the things that have the messaging that's been coming from them. I'm on their email list, so I'm loosely familiar with what they've been pumping out. And certainly in your role with the county group, is there any, do you want to start us off? Do you have any thoughts on initiatives for running into 2026?
Well, I have to say, our group, has been doing a lot through the years. I wasn't a part of most of that. I kind of hopped on at different times and then lately have been more involved. But this fall, we haven't been very involved, and we have a meeting coming up, and we're all kind of burnt a
Yeah,
little bit,
yep,
And
yep,
so, and some of us are feeling like maybe we need to do some other things, like just what we each want to do in this time of what's going on in the world and all that.
yep.
So focusing on like, yeah, something different. So I have to say, we don't have a whole lot going on, although the one person who has been really running it, um, I'm forgetting her name right this second, but she does have a lot of energy, and but she's also getting kind of burned out with that because she has a lot of other things going on. So I can't say that we have anything big happening, and we haven't met for a while, so we'll find out in this coming month what
Got it.
what we're going to do. Are we going to go forward? We're going to fold for a while? Are we going to what are we, where that's where we are at right now. So
Is that group still sort of centralized around Middlebury as far as their, I don't want to cast it in a certain light, but I remember the few times I was on those calls, it felt like the genesis of it happened in Middlebury and then it was
yeah.
spreading outward, but it was definitely a Middlebury kind of a thing.
Yeah, it is pretty much mainly because the woman who has the most energy lives right in Middlebury.
Got it.
And so she's just like so good at just getting everything happening and all that, she's just really good.
Got it.
But she's got a lot of other things on her plate right now. And yeah, the others of us have just been sort of like, oh yeah, I'll tell you what I know from Bristol and I know, for
Yep.
Jens and different. So,
Yep. Got it.
so we're in a transition there.
Totally understandable.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any comments or thoughts going into this year? Obviously, I've been in contact lightly with Jessica as well as Ian. I'll get to that when we get to other business. I don't want to take up Grants and Initiatives time to do that, but I think we're going to certainly try to re-engage with our select board representatives a little bit more. They had put out asks to us for advice and letters of recommendation and things like that. And obviously, we had run into a few issues along the way from a from a from a quorum standpoint. But obviously, they know we're here and there's plenty left to do. Certainly, they were able to get the North Street assisted crosswalk done, which is obviously great to see. Um, but does anybody have any other thoughts or ideas on that we can put on the books going into the February meeting? So whether it's a homework type of a thing or anything like that. All right. Got
Question
it.
question for you, Chris, just
Of course.
again, my as the newbie here, are you asking the group for things that perhaps they've been marinating over on being initiatives for 2026?
That's a good question, given this is your first meeting. Grants and initiatives, we've had this sort of rolling list of things that we've discussed as far as initiatives are concerned. Some of them are very small. Some of them are us potentially assisting with other initiatives that are already underway. Like a perfect example is putting in a sidewalk on, depending on who you are and how long you've been in town. Some people call it Airport Road. It's basically the road that goes into Mount Ape. Um, the sidewalk mysteriously ends right at the American Legion when any rational person would think it should go all the way and connect to the bike path that goes behind the rec field and make it easy for kids and people and everybody who's walking to use that. That's an example of a project that a lot of people are have interest in and have made actual progress on, all the way up to huge projects like I'll give probably the biggest example of one that people have thrown out historically and that has come up in various ways at various meetings, and that's doing something about how difficult and dangerous it is for someone walking or biking to get from the end of East Street, so that's the east edge of town, to Rocky Dale, to the bridge that goes to the falls, to that area. There's plenty of people that live down there. There's kids that live down there. There's recreational opportunities that are down there. And yet there's precious little room on the edges of the road for anyone to walk or bike safely. That would be an infrastructure project, seven-figure minimum kind of a cost that people have brought to us multiple times. And also, obviously, there are bigger issues than simply budget. There are also geographical issues. Lord's Prayer Rock, as one example, like the road itself is not going to get any wider, and it's certainly not going to get any narrower.
And steeper.
So, and yeah,
It's
yeah,
steep.
perfect. So initiatives have taken many forms. We've got a little parking lot of ideas there. Um, in October, as part of this kind of call for ideas on resetting how the group engages with itself as well as with the select board and the public, initiatives kind of are the linchpin of a lot of what we do. And so this was more a call. Has anybody thought of anything else that we feel like we should revamp our approach to? Because to me, this is a blank sheet of paper at this point. It's a perfect time to really renew those efforts. Sorry for the long-winded historical answer on that.
Yeah, it's not really anything new, but I think for me, just selfishly living on Pine Street and knowing that Pine Street is still one of our kind of at least one of the early initiatives I think that we talked about when I first joined. Would love to do anything we can do to kind of jumpstart that back into this year and hopefully get some lines painted down. Chris, I did go up to Burlington, just outside of Burton, and saw kind of how they dealt with the lines there,
Yes.
and that kind of fired off some more synapses. I remember you talking about that in previous meetings. So yeah, so nothing really new, but I guess like Pine Street, and I know it's a moonshot, but if there was a way to get by foot or bicycle over to Bristol Falls, that would be amazing. But I also understand why maybe that's not going to happen soon.
Brad, refresh my memory um, if I remember Industrial Parkway correctly, they had similar lines to the street in Lincoln that we had documented for the traffic calming on Pine Street 2 years ago. Was it that kind of setup still, or did they revamp that and it's even more involved?
Yeah, no, it's similar to that. I would say the industrial parkway kind of splits the difference between the two, and that like
Yep.
it very much feels like a single lane road now, industrial parkway, just with
Yep.
how wide the bike margins are. And so for me, I instantly was like, okay, I know the reference in Lincoln, but this definitely feels like uh, what we should be looking to
Very
for in
aggressive.
terms
That's
of
right. They are
yeah.
very roomy. That's right. That's right. Allison, you're new to this, so I'll give you some. Brad is mentioning what was called the Pine Street Traffic Calming Initiative, which was the first project that this group worked on when it was initially codified by the select board. And it was something that the select board had budgeted money for. It was effectively an approved project. All they needed was guidance and suggestions on how what they were calling it was a traffic calming initiative. So these were what were called advisory lanes. Pine Street itself in Bristol is not wide enough to be considered a two lane, anything more than a single lane road. You can't put a line down the middle of it legally and have the lanes on either side of it be wide enough to technically and legally be regarded as passable lanes. Hence why there's no line on it given the nature of the narrowness of it and its heavy, heavy, heavy use by pedestrians as well as cyclists, the initiative that they handed to us was these advisory lanes, which would to be paint dotted lines on both sides of the street out a set amount of distance so that pedestrians and cyclists could be in those lanes and when they were, the lanes provided guidance for effectively for what would be called the, what the burdened vehicle would have to do. So if you're coming in the opposite direction of a person walking in the lane and you're safely within the lane and they're coming the other way, there's no issue. But if somebody is on your side, they are now they are the burden vehicle because you represent you've taken the lane effectively. And so they have to wait for traffic to pass the other way and then go around you using the advisory lane as a guide.
Like a covered bridge type
Yeah,
thing.
there's
Yeah.
definitely covered bridge rules that would
Yeah.
apply.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect example. We did an amount of research into what other communities were doing, including Lincoln at the time, including Burlington, which was doing everything at the time. They had all kinds of approaches to this. Big cities, small towns, and things like that put forth recommendations, or were about to put forth recommendations. Then were asked by the town, park that for a second, look at stop signs on Pine Street. We put forth a plan for we submitted a plan for uh, stop signs. They parked it after a
Hmm.
some rather contentious discussion during
Yeah.
a select board meeting.
Turn it
Um,
into a one-way
well,
during the
that's been
summer. Or
I feel like Sally. I don't know if Sally was on the group that became this group eventually. Sally, I don't know if that was ever discussed back in the day with that group, but it was definitely something that our initial gang inherited as an idea. Dustin, speak on this.
Oh, oh, hi. Well, first, yeah, thank you, Brad, for bringing up Pine Street because that's definitely what was on my mind. But um, yeah, I just really want to express my desire to make that an initiative for this group again because I just feel disappointed that we first it was the line striping, traffic comic things, and then the idea of placing some, putting a stop sign at the Maple or the Munsell or both the Liberty at those intersections, that wouldn't cost much, but would do a lot to make traffic have to slow down. And I know I'm disappointed that like none of it's happened. And I also would love to remind the people on the select board or whoever's shooting it down that, you know, we don't, the school district doesn't provide busing in the village. So, I mean, you guys know where I live on Pine
Yeah.
Street. My daughter's now about to, she's gonna go to Mount Abe next year. So, uh, that's easier for us now. But for all those years, like getting from the end of Pine Street to Bristol Elementary on
Yeah.
foot with
Yep.
no sidewalk,
Yep.
and that road with you got all the towns heavy traffic with their dump trucks, and you've got the Bristol Works and that traffic, and then you've got everybody high school boy who's coming from Moncton who's going to come North Street, turn right on Pine, race down that, then left on Liberty and cut off onto West Street without facing a stop sign in front of him that entire way to cut off the traffic light. I would love the town to do something about it and
Yep.
slow the traffic down. It's a safety issue.
Yep.
Yeah. I lived on Pine Street for 10 years.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And I did
So
I was interacting with Officer Bruce, and he had said that his thinking had evolved and that he was more receptive to the idea of stop signs on Pine Street now, as a means for getting people to slow down. I will say, especially in the summer, people with crotch rockets and other vehicles will just
yeah,
treat it like a quarter-mile drag strip, and it's yeah, anything to kind of help slow folks down would be awesome.
I feel like that would be the cheapest, simplest solution. If you just placed a stop sign at the Maple, at the Munsell, at the Liberty Street, nobody would get going more than 20, 25 miles an hour because you got to slow to a stop for those and problem solved. Or even just one of those. Just at Liberty and Maple would would slow it down a lot.
Dustin, I'm making a note right now to when I send the follow-up email after the meeting, I'm going to reshare. We've moved the folder, we've moved the public share to G Drive as of I think
Yeah.
middle of the way through last year. I'll reshare it with everybody because our plans for both of those things are in there. Um, this is my suggestion here. Allison Ross, who's joining us, she has noted interest in joining the board. Allison, historically, one of the issues that we've run into, unfortunately, is having enough board members on any given call to have a binding vote on certain initiatives. That's that's done interesting things to our ability to move initiatives forward. I'm going to, I believe, let us know if you're interested in joining the board. I'll get you connected and through that process so that in February, at our February meeting, we can take a vote on what we want to put in front of the select board for Pine Street. That can be the first thing right out of the gate. The select board has voiced at least once last year to us that they were interested in hearing a new plan for it. Um, let's just be proactive about it now and decide next February in February, sorry, not next February. In February, do we want to put the entirety of the proposal together and put it in front of them, meaning everything that we did? The traffic calming lines again, the stop sign suggestions again, as well as obviously we all remember, and it still comes up to this day, dropping the speed limit in the village down from 35 to 25.
Count me in.
You're important to this because that would give us five people
Yeah.
on that call if, say, everybody on this call was there. Maybe the rest of the gang is there, whatever, but you would actually be a, it'd be great to have another board member on
Yeah.
so that we
Yep,
could actually move that forward in front of the select board
count
in
me in.
February. Okay, great.
I feel like how Sally was mentioning someone in Middlebury with a lot of energy. You now have someone in Bristol with a lot of energy as
Okay.
well.
Right.
And I might be optimistic, but I can be really tough, but I can be a charmer too. So,
Your first order of business is simply showing up so that we can have a vote.
okay.
That is you have no idea, as everybody on this call can attest, you have no idea how valuable it would be to have five people on a call. That alone would move move the group's initiatives forward. Sally,
It seems like we should, I mean, do we really have 9 people?
no, we only
Like,
have
why don't we have 7? So then we only need 4 to make a
I
decision. That's I like the like the energy committee, we have 7 people, and so we only need 4. Like, it's crazy trying to have 9 people on this thing and have to
I
have 5. That's nuts.
I my assumption is that that is not simply a rule but a law.
Yeah.
I could be
I
wrong.
I think what happened is when we were when everyone said, "Hey, we need a group in this town." Um, I remember I was part of that group that talked
Yes.
about, yeah, we need a group in this town. And then so many people came together. I'm like, oh, great, I don't even have to be on it, but they're going to
Yes.
do it.
Yes.
And but then there was someone else, so you ended up getting like 8 people or something was weird. Like
Yes.
someone
We
threw someone else on because they really wanted to be on. I'm like, so you got more than you really needed or should have had, maybe. I mean, but it was good then because everyone wanted to be on it. And then
we but
things changed.
then we ran into issues right out of the gate where we lost two members within the
Yeah,
first 6 months.
yeah,
And suddenly we went from having a surplus and being well over the line on every call to having a deficit where
yeah,
every single person had to show up
yeah. That's no
basically.
good.
And yeah, so
We need to
um,
change that. I think, like, how many people are on the group now?
I can tell you that it's one, two, three, four, five, six. There's six of us. So if we,
Yeah,
as often happens, if we don't have two members of the six,
yeah,
suddenly we can't have a vote.
yeah. We should just, as soon as we have, well, oh yeah, we don't have 5 right now.
That's what I'm saying is if
As soon as we get 5, we should turn it to a 7-member group.
then we'd be full. Yeah,
Then we'd
then we'd actually
actually
be full.
do something because we haven't been able to do anything forever.
I'm going to I'll ask our liaison about what's involved with that. Turning from to seven. Okay, I
I
just made a
also,
note on that.
I guess that does fire some synapses for me for just like outreach to the community. I know, like the farmers market, I'm not sure how effective these things would be, but like, uh, should we start thinking about like having a booth and talking to people and trying to, I guess, get more people in, through other means than just, knowing people? But I don't know.
Brad, can you hold on that for like 2 minutes?
Totally.
And then we'll jump in on this. I want to tie off the Pine Street and the initiatives conversation, and then we'll take other business to discuss outreach in general as well as specific to this because I do have one thing that I was saving for that section and it partners perfectly with what you just brought up. I want to finish the initiatives thing. I feel like we can be prepared going into February with the Pine Street thing, get that proposal together, vote on it, get it in front of the select board, and then move on to the rest of the stuff that's in the parking lot. Allison, I'll put you on this email so that you can have access to our share and see all the work that we had done, the previous initiative ideas that had been done, both big and small, had never moved beyond just being line items on a list. The Pine Street one work had been done. And I'll pull that stuff out. We'll have that ready for the next conversation. I just want to adjust just two more things. Um, One, Brad, your note about Chief Nason and the stop sign is interesting. We know historically he was certainly on board with lowering the speed limits. It's cool to hear that he was potentially cool with, or would also recommend, put his considerable weight behind a stop sign thing. I'll remind everybody, I presented the stop sign thing to the select board. I watched one person get up from as a member of the public and say they didn't like it, and the select board parked it because of a member of the public.
Yeah.
That was very interesting to see.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll say, Allison, noting your thing about the one-way thing, is one-way has been a suggestion that's flowed through these conversations for the last few years, specific to um, Pleasant Street, Spring Street, Pleasant Street, West Pleasant Street, because that's the road that the kids do travel to get to and from both sets of schools through the village. And so everybody gravitated towards this idea of potentially making that a one-way street. So it is an idea that has flowed. Pine Street would be a tougher one given the nature of Bristol Works and a few of the other things. But the idea of turning at least one of the streets in the village into one way is something that I believe at least some of the members of the advisory committee find very interesting.
That's awesome. I'm just thinking of back in New York City when they started really putting in bike lanes for people, that they turned several streets in Brooklyn into one ways, and then there was two-way bicycle, like it became a bike route,
Yep.
basically, which I don't know, could be something interesting to consider. And I don't know, city planning or anything like that, but also, maybe in the winter, that doesn't necessarily have to be a truth. Maybe it is during, a certain time of year when people are actually cycling quite a bit.
We actually do have a precedent for that in the village. Mountain Street is one way twice a day. Um,
That's
at,
so
at the
cool.
begin
That's awesome.
at the beginning and the end of the school days, it is there's a section, I should say, it's not the whole
Yeah.
street,
I was like,
but it
oh,
is, yeah. Imagine if it was one, yeah. There's
That's
a
awesome.
there's a block and a half of it that's one way at least. So
Again, as a designer, strategist, and problem solver, this is all really exciting
yeah.
to hear. So that's really cool.
Yep. Sally, anything further on that?
um, I was thinking, what about just asking for one stop sign at Maple? Because I think the idea of stop, go is not going to fly for people at all. But if
Yep.
there's one in the middle, that's going to slow them down. They're not going to get going 30 after that,
Yep.
either on
Yep,
either
this is true.
side. And it's only deals with one intersection, and I think it's much more palatable
Yep.
and a good start, And I don't think you'd even need one at the other ones. There's nothing. There's not as much going on down there. It's usually flying past the Maple that is more of a, they get going on either side of Maple. That's where
W-
people go.
I will share that folder, that deck, and everybody can refresh what we have in there for. So that is the homework for next month, is look at the presentations that we built out and come with suggestions like that. Do we do for Pine Street? Is it here? It's a buffet, it's a menu, and you can go all in with this. You can pick one of these things. You can pick advisory lanes and a stop sign at Maple. We are we are putting everything we think should be done on Maple in front of the or on Pine in front of the select board, and we are an advisory committee, so they can take that advice, they can modify it. That's always, I think, been the select board's understanding of how this group functions. So
That's so funny. The negotiator in me is like providing good, better, best options, right? So if we have that best option, but that seems like too much, and just showing the good as being the most viable minimal product. Um,
yep,
I don't know.
that's a
Yeah,
great,
that's it.
Allison, you'll have all kinds of ideas when you see this deck.
Oh, I can't wait. I
It's
can't wait.
it's it's this stripped down old PowerPoint town government template. Um,
We'll make it look cooler too.
yes, Kevin, what's happening? Good to see you. We're we're uh we're about to get into the home stretch here. Hold on, Let me just note that you're here in the minutes.
Sorry I'm late. I hustled to try to get here on time, but
No worries. It's good to see you. It's cold out.
Yeah.
yeah.
Takes longer. We are about to roll into other business, Kevin.
Okay.
You didn't miss anything you haven't heard
Okay.
before. We've got a new member of the town community, the community here, Allison Ross, has joined
Great.
us, and she is actually interested in joining the board. So,
Awesome.
And she's already been putting out some good ideas, so we're all
yes.
psyched.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on then to other business. Like I said, Brad, we'll hand the mic back over to you. You started talking about outreach.
Yeah, just thinking like if our goal is to pick up some more members, but then also I think we have a lot of ideas too, but even just I guess creating a greater amount of awareness in the town here of what we're doing. Um, yeah, just trying to think like what are the best ways to reach people that are a I don't want to say low effort, but the greatest benefit to effort ratio that we can find.
Yeah, I'm writing that down. Benefit to effort ratio.
Yeah.
That reminds me of your old price to flavor ratio.
That's that's still one I practice daily.
Okay, so a note on board seats. So the last two meetings, at least, I had noted that there was a new community member who had voiced more than just interest in joining the board. He had actually he wanted to join. I gave him the volunteer form. He submitted it. There were weeks and months that went by where there was nothing heard. We obviously had a change in town. In the town office that his stuff might have gotten lost in the shuffle. Enough time has passed that he has actually moved from Bristol. So a person that we would have otherwise had on the board that I had teased on a couple, at least two meetings, he is no longer in the mix. So I'm in the process, I'm going back and forth right now with Jessica on, okay, Jessica, what are your thoughts? What should we do? Should I post something to Front Porch Forum, ask for new volunteers? She said, yeah, absolutely. Let's regroup on this. Any other ideas on that? Obviously, and we're willing to entertain all of them. Brad, you noted us coming up with maybe a booth for something like the farmers market. Um, Outside of say we go to the select board and mention trying to get the total number of board seats down to seven so that we can always be safely within a quorum. Um, what other things do you think like we should do around outreach, getting people to understand what we're doing, get more engagement? As a board, do we feel like we want more people on these calls? Where do we feel like the public is going to be? I want to put this the right way. Since we are in service of the public's best interests, where do we want the public to engage with us so that they can actually be the most help to us in getting through these initiatives and getting in the ear of the select board and things like that? Like you mentioned, potentially doing something at the farmers market. What are people's thoughts around community engagement?
Just start talking, Alice. I
Okay,
think
thank you.
that's how we do it here, I think.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Um, I mean, if 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 the board is able to make the love a measurable amount of increased love for walking and cycling in Bristol, to me, it seems kind of interesting to go to a place like the farmer's market and maybe have, a bike technician there that does a little workshop to teach people how to clean the chain because it's the beginning of summer. And I feel like the benefit of having the community more engaged and knowing that there are people really trying really hard to make Bristol a more walkable and cyclable, bikeable community. There's part of me that thinks just off the cuff that if lots of people are engaged, like when you go with that proposal for Pine Street, can you show up with a proposal but also a petition for it that shows 200 community members are actually wanting this to happen as well? So to me, there seems like a valid, I don't know, way to show up and have like bring that cycling and walking love to everyone and let them know how they can be a part of it by just caring about what we're trying to do. Take ideas from the community on if people are not cool with jumping onto a Zoom, or if it's just having 100 people on a Zoom would be a total nightmare. It could be interesting.
We've had locomotion offer to be the proxy or the surrogate for surveys and petitions and things like that. So they actually did a draft survey for one of our initiatives. We stalled it because it was heavily biased towards the questions on it were heavily biased basically towards demographic. It looked like it was an attempt to gain much greater understanding of the demographics of Bristol rather than the needs of the cyclists and the people walking.
Yeah.
So, but they have volunteered to be a proxy for doing those things because people know who Locomotion is. They're good because it looks like a third party that has kind of like an NGO like status
Yeah.
in Vermont here. There's this feeling that they might be able to actually get um, more response than if we just simply put something out ourselves. Certainly, obviously, we're willing to do anything as an organization, but they said they would partner with us to do things like that.
One more add-on to that. Does this committee have a social presence?
Zero,
So
none.
that's number one. That would be interesting to try and build up because there's something about local motion coming in and doing it. And they do this and copy and paste for other communities
Yep.
versus no, this is your community. We're going to do what you want. Um, and then that also makes me think, again, I'm going to give out an Instagram reference, but this guy, Hunter Prosper, I think is the handle for it, who goes out in New York City and puts a table with a question like, what was the sweetest thing anyone ever said to you? And it's people just go and write it down and then they read it and share it. So when I'm saying surveying the community, it's like, what, why do you love traveling on two wheels or something? Again, I'm riffing on the spot, but there's a bit more of a grassroots sharing people's love for cycling and just trying to make the community become a place, a mecca, and become the Girona of Spain. Bristol, Vermont becomes that, or the five towns or the five villages, or I don't know. I'm
Um,
dreaming big.
I just made notes on all that. There'll
Okay,
be a link to that guy's thing in the meeting minutes.
thank you.
And I'm going to ask Jessica, what are the rules, town rules around committees and social media presences?
Okay, awesome.
Okay. Right. Okay. Anything else on that subject or any other subjects for this month?
Um, Dustin here.
Yep.
I just had the thought as far as outreach, just tapping to the schools and particularly Mount Abraham, be 7 through 12 and being right in Bristol. Actually, just this morning in our morning advisory, we have these slides that guide our discussions in morning advisory, and these slides were from our environmental action group. And um, what was the prompt? I'm trying to remember. Kevin, maybe you remember, but there was a prompt that asked, you know, uh, basically asked them to think about what's something they could do to reduce the, negative impact on the environment. And I had kids, in small pairs thinking, and then they shared out. And one thing I heard over and over again from a lot of the kids was they wanted to travel less in cars and walk and bike more, including to school. So that's that's certainly something. But I'm wondering, we have 600 kids at the middle high school who um, they have a vested interest in making the town more walkable and bike safe. So, engaging them in some way.
Yep.
And we have a couple teachers at Mount Abe that are part of this group.
I'm going to make a note here for the follow-up email to reshare. We built out a spreadsheet of different liaisons at all the different places, organizations, things like that. It would be great I can't remember if we've got anything in there for Mount Abe, Dustin, but it would be great to revisit that list of all of these different organizations within the community that we need a contact at. Like
Hmm.
Rec Club is in there, police department's obviously in there, things of that nature in
Yeah.
there. I I know I know Mount Abe and BES were on that list. It's been so long since I looked at it. I can't remember if we had any actual contacts. So I'm making a note to share that in the follow-up.
And the other thought I had is just thinking about, the membership of this group and just wondering, um, could a student be, is there, like, could a young person, 14, 15, 16 years old, um, join a town subcommittee?
That's been brought up. I can't remember if we got an answer from the select board on that. My gut tells me we did, and that it has to be a town voter. It has to be someone of voting age in the town, but I will double check. I'm making a note to double check on that because that's actually not the first time that that's come up. You might have even been the one to have brought it up previously,
It-
but I'm going to make a note about that.
yeah.
That would be so cool, like an internship for someone that wants to get into civics and city planning. That would be
Yep.
super cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
They can go hang out with us at the farmers market, get some credits.
Well, our expanded learning program actually has some grant funding too, where kids actually can, there's actually some money
Nice.
available. I don't know. It's a connection there that just
ELP
came to
that
mind.
Dustin, that's a great idea. ELP
Yeah.
standalone. We need a contact at ELP.
Yeah.
In addition to one at BES and one at Mount Abe, ELP's become such a Allison. I think we were explaining that to you a couple weeks ago that that's a group that so many
Yes,
it's become kind of a central catch-all for a lot of things that aren't. If it doesn't fall under something else, ELP tends
super
to grab
cool.
it and end up running with it for after school stuff.
Yeah. To build on Dustin's insight of students wanting the town to be more walkable and bikeable. Like, I don't know, again, I'm new here and horses come pick up my trash. Like, this is the place
Yeah.
for it. Like, and I'm sure those people would love for everyone to slow down a little bit too.
Yeah. Hey, speaking about the farmers market, I kept a tent there, not kept a tent there, but put up a tent pretty much every week for the energy committee. And the most fun for me was to show the walk to shop trolleys, which is kind of more of a thing that's our bailiwick rather than the energy committee, but it's both, same, saving energy. But anyway, I found that at first there were a lot of people and then there weren't so many people. So it was really quiet there, but it might be something that we could do together. Like if we could use my tent because it's a good farmer's market tent and whatever, and do it whenever we wanted to. Well, like we could make a plan. Like, do we do it once a month or every week or what? There's because I feel like it was doing it every single week for just the energy committee was like too much. I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this is fun to sit here and talk to people when they come by, but it was pretty quiet.
Oh, Chris, I wonder too if like we're trying to build awareness if we're there, right? And get people engaged. So is it handing out pamphlets and telling them what we're doing, or is it having, like I said, a bike workshop, have a screen printing workshop where people can come and
Yeah,
print, make their own Bristol bike club bags, or like
yeah.
anything to hook people in to just know that this exists and there are people that are working towards it. I think it could be a really interesting way to also like cross over all the different committees that we're talking about too.
Yep. Okay. Anything else on that or for other business? All right. Robust notes tonight. Good discussion. Look at that. In a full hour. We haven't done that in a long,
Yeah.
long time.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah, of course.
If we have small, medium, and large initiatives, what has been a metric of success in the past? Or maybe perhaps if we want to give ourselves goals on if we can get this many small, this many medium, this many big done in a year. Um,
We
Even though
had
I know the initiatives are all over and there's a parking lot of them, but
when
yeah.
we first started, I can give you some historical perspective on that. It won't be the straightforward answer that the measurable answer you're looking for. But when we first started initiatives, we looked at it from a quarterly perspective,
Okay.
that each quarter we were trying to advance one initiative. Advance would mean getting it probably at the time in our naivete, success would have been that it became a funded and done initiative. As the realities of working within these types of structures played out, I would say that it's instead of maybe it's not instead of it's the wrong way of putting this. We look at it from the standpoint of milestones rather than pure success metrics like that. And I know you weren't intending this to be a binary thumbs up or thumbs down kind of a success metric, but I think that there are clear milestones along the path of an initiative that we can lay out pretty easily, with the ultimate success being the last one where it's a funded and implemented initiative. The first one is the basics of it's something that's brought to the board and voted on. We create a presentation that goes in front of the select board. That would be the next milestone. And there's obviously a micro milestone in between there of we find a grant to attach it to. Because again, I can't underscore enough that an initiative attached to a grant, in most cases, makes it go through the select board process much easier. Um, because they're like, okay, we don't have to pay for this. Well, that already knocks down the biggest challenge,
Yeah.
which is we didn't budget for this, we don't want to pay for it. Oh, somebody else is going to pay for it? Well, great, we don't have that objection anymore. And suddenly now it's just them checking the temperature of the town, which I'm not trying to minimize the challenge of that. But once that passes, then we're on to, say, the next milestone, which is, however, basically like now it's out of our hands because we're an advisory committee. We're not an implementation committee. So we're not hands-on involved in the implementation of these things. Then it would be us being a part of any implementation process at the whim of or at the direction of the select board. So the milestones get a little bit more bespoke to the projects after that point, but we could certainly map out what milestones mean in general and treat those as measures of incremental success, if that answers your question.
Yeah, it totally does. And one last question. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a chatty girl, but I'm sure there's like an overall vision, right? Wait, like what does,
We have a mission rather than a vision.
okay, perfect.
We have
Okay.
a mission. Um, the vision
Which
is
you can share after. I don't, if you all know it. But yeah,
you bringing up the vision component. We shied away from doing a vision, or I shied away from doing a vision, having the experience that people like you and I have had with mission vision stuff, because of the things that how many things we were trying to triangulate. We are not just a village, we are a town. We are not
hmm.
just bicycles, we are walkers, we are this, we are that. And so once you get into the activation of it, what Bristol looks like 5 years from now from the perspective of bicycling and walking and all of those things, it felt better to simply put a mission out there that dragged in a tiny, tiny bit of vision, but but didn't have like a dream state within that.
You're bringing up an excellent point that I will rephrase my question. Does Bristol, the village, the town, do they have a vision where all the different groups and boards are all going towards that same goal? Because then for cyclists and pedestrians, we can be real pointy and sharp on that. But is the whole town um, shooting towards this? Oh, Sally, it sounds like you might want to jump in.
Well, yeah, I've just realized what you're saying is, yeah, okay, so then we become really a part of that. And then
Of
we're in. And
yeah,
then we can talk together because we're all focused on that together and we
I
all appreciate that.
this is being sparked to me when we were talking about again with your tent and with your initiatives, but then like smashing together
Mhm,
different boards and different groups who are all shooting for the same goal.
mhm.
Um,
The
so
the there's an absence of one.
okay.
Please, anybody who knows differently, either in the macro or in the micro of, let me know if you think there is one, but I can state from where I sit and the various initiatives within and outside of this organization in particular, I don't believe there's a unifying vision. I believe it's far more ad hoc, opportunistic, not in a bad way, but having had some experience via my wife with the ARPA funding initiative. So, Allison, are you familiar with ARPA?
No.
ARPA was the Recovery Act during
Oh,
COVID,
yes, yes,
where
yes.
communities around the country each got a big pile of money to do whatever they wanted with. And ARPA, the effort around ARPA was the closest I think the town ever got to some type of unifying vision, and there was nothing unified about it at all.
I ask because I was so like touched this week, right? Someone drove into my driveway and I'm like, "Who are you? You're a stranger." And they left me the Bristol welcome wagon bag.
Oh,
And
great.
the which is so sweet and so amazing, but the current vision I think is Bristol best town ever. That's about it.
Boom.
And then there's a bunch of interesting stuff inside, but
That's a
I
big tent. Best town ever. That's it. We can operate inside of that.
I don't really like
uh
that. I
I
don't like
don't
that
like
at
it
all.
either.
That's like we're the better than you. I hate it.
I don't like it
Yeah,
either because it's
that,
like, okay, I don't know how to activate on
yeah,
that objectively. I
yeah.
can activate it on it subjectively. I'm going to put a giant statue in my front yard and I'm going
Yeah.
to be a weird roadside attraction. Like, so I know this isn't necessarily from for this group, but trust me, something now that I'm super interested. Yeah. How to make it easier to get things approved because if they align with a vision for the town and the village.
One person I think that might have that kind of feel is Ian Albinson.
Yeah.
Um, he
Yeah.
hasn't been around as long as some of the people on the select board that have been here forever, but he came with a much more progressive new view. so it made it a good mix, kind of him coming to the thing. The same with what's her name? Jessica.
Jessica
Yeah,
Teets, yeah.
it helped round out the
I think
board.
those are two, I agree with Sally. I think those two select board members are people who would be very understanding, not simply open of, but understanding of the value of vision. Town hall in general is a place where I think you, depending on who you asked, you'd get answers from the range of, oh, I totally have an idea of what the vision for Bristol should be, to what do we need something like that for? So, and everything in between. So yes, it would obviously serve as a great North Star for committees like ours and every other committee under the town select board's purview.
And they should all be a part of being excited about it. See, look, I'm one meeting in. I'm going to start a new board. I'm going to get
Hey.
pushed out of town.
I am so psyched that you're here.
Oh, I'm psyched you're here too, Sal.
So it's there's that's a big discussion, and it would be tremendously it'd be tremendously functional for those who would need the air cover of, hey, this thing is feeding into this overall, Bristol 2030 kind of thing, or whatever it
Yeah,
is. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, again, coming from Austin, they had went through a whole rebrand while I was there too. So even for big cities and small towns to just have something everyone's working towards, I think is pretty, I don't know. It makes everyone that lives there know like what we're shooting towards and how to work together to get there. So
Making a couple notes.
awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, that was a nice little tangent. Um, very, very not much of a tangent at all, actually. Um, okay, anybody have anything else for tonight?
No,
All
just a
right, then.
pleasure meeting all of you. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, great.
Thanks for showing
Welcome.
up.
This is fun. It's nice to get the gang back together and yeah, get this rolling again.
Yeah, and thanks for everybody's flexibility between last week and this week. Um, I moved this a week. This ends up being one of those long months, and it just made a little bit more sense from a scheduling perspective to put it on this week. Um, with that all said, can I ask for a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Yeah.
Allison, you cannot motion to adjourn.
Oh, that's right. You're not official yet.
You're not.
I don't know how this works. Come on,
Yeah.
guys.
It's only
Do-
because we haven't had the quorum thing to say, yes, you're on now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
We
Well,
certainly
then-
feel like you're on and you're going to be on, but
Yeah,
Okay.
you gotta there's a tiny thing you've got to do. I'll connect you with that whole thing. But yes, you will be able to motion. And you're also not the first member of the public who's certainly offered to jump in on something official. So we appreciate that.
Of course.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Epic.
I second.
Brad seconds. I'm gonna note seconds. I'm gonna note 8:11 as the time. I will follow up with you all in the next couple days with a follow-up email with the links and things like that that we mentioned previously.
great. Thanks so much, Chris.
Thanks, everyone. Great seeing you all.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everybody.
Allison.
Good night, everyone.
Night.